Okay, so you want to know what it's really like to live in Denver? Well, we are currently living in Denver and we're going to let you know.
Okay, so today we are here to talk to you about all the ins and outs about living in Denver. Michelle and I have been living here a long time and we know exactly what it's like and we want to share that with you.
Yep, I'm actually native, if you haven't watched our other videos and heard us talk about it. So I've lived here for almost 50 years. Yeah, I'm almost 50. But that's the truth. And I mean, it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
So if you were here visiting 20 years ago, it's completely different now.
That's a fact.
Some things have stayed the same. Some of the really good things have stayed the same. But a lot has changed. And people ask us, when they're coming in from out of state, like, what's it really like to live in Denver? Like, they see things online, but they want, the local perspective.
Scoop, right?
Yes.
The inside scoop, for sure.
Yeah.
So I think one of the top aspects of Denver is its location.
Yeah.
Even within the state and within the country. Let's focus on the state today. So we are basically centrally located in Colorado, as you can tell from the map. And that gives you great proximity to so many amazing things. So you can get to the mountains, obviously. You can get to Colorado Springs. You can get to the third largest airport in Denver. You can get to the plains. Wyoming, Cheyenne, Wyoming is only about 2 hours north of here.
Yep, you can go south. You can get to New Mexico, Santa Fe, even Grand Canyon. And honestly, to be honest with you, you don't really even need to leave Colorado. We have so many amazing things here. That is one thing I think that really draws people to Colorado is how much is here and the differences. You go out east, it's the plains, there's fields of sunflowers. It's beautiful in its own right that direction. But you go west and you're in the Great Rocky Mountains, and there's skiing and hiking and snowboarding and there's lakes. There's even lakes all along the Front Range here.
Reservoirs and
yeah.
And if you go a little bit north and to the west, you can hit Boulder, which has an amazing campus, an amazing
Flatirons are up there.
Yes, it's gorgeous. At the foothills area, Golden is really beautiful.
Yeah, I think living here, and obviously not everybody's an outdoor enthusiast, but they are to a point. I mean, you can't live in Colorado and not enjoy some aspects of it. I am not a huge, outdoorsy hiker, camper, those types of things. A lot of my friends are, but it still doesn't mean that I don't appreciate the beauty of it. I mean,
you can stay in your car and go to a hotel, enjoy all the same things and not have to pitch a tent.
And everywhere you are in Denver, you see the Rocky Mountains. So you see that beauty, you see the beautiful sunsets over the Rocky Mountains. You can see the storms coming in over the mountains. So again, even though I not totally out and about in it, I love to walk, I love to bike, I love to do those things, paddleboard. So there's pieces of it.
Well, the cool thing about the mountains too is that you always know where you are, directionally.
Yes.
You always know where west is. Let's put it that way.
I go on vacation and I'm driving and I can't figure out which way I'm going because I'm so used to just looking and saying, oh, that way's west. So that's where I'm going.
Exactly. And I mean, even some local municipalities have their own reservoirs and inclines. Manitou Springs, that place is amazing. It's one of my favorite cities in Colorado. It's like a hippie, cool vibe, local eateries, local boutiques, local shopping and artisans, and
it's geared all around the outdoors too because they have the incline there.
Huge incline, and then Garden of the Gods is down there. It's just amazing.
Yeah, but these local towns have inclines. Like Parker has its own little incline. Castle Rock has its own little incline. Not as big as Manitou Springs, but it's ways that they bring the great pieces of Colorado and make those outdoor areas more user-friendly to the city folk, without having to drive all the way to the mountains.
Yeah, and so with that amazingness, there's also kind of a downside. The beauty and splendor of Colorado brings about 17 million people a year here to visit.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. We already have almost 2.5 million that live here in the Denver metro area. So it's a lot of people. So what that results in, obviously, traffic. And crowds, like when you go anywhere, there's always a ton of people. Red Rocks, parking, if you go downtown, or if you go to Boulder, or if you go to Garden of the Gods, it's not like you're gonna be hanging out by yourself in nature.
Yeah. A lot of, the trail, unless you go really deep into the mountains and, your hiking trails are busier. A lot of the state and national parks have reservation systems. So if you want to go up and gain entry into the state park or the national park, you have to make a reservation. Campgrounds are requiring reservations. So it's not quite as easy as it used to be. Skiing, when I was growing up here, to get up to Breckenridge, it would take us an hour and a half from Aurora. And we'd ski and we'd stand in short lines and ski all day and get tons of runs in. Now, depending on the day and the weekend, if it's a holiday, whatever, Saturday morning traffic to get to Breckenridge to ski takes a couple hours at least. Then,
depending on weather conditions too. If it's snowing, I wouldn't even go because it's so treacherous, number one, and it takes so long and it's frustrating.
And then you get up there and there's typically some lines that you're standing in to ski. You can't ski as many runs in a typical day as what I used to when I was growing up. And there's even so much traffic on I-70, which is that main east-west highway, that they'll pace traffic. So they do that to help alleviate and keep the traffic flowing, but you don't do that unless there's a lot of cars and traffic on the road. So that's a bummer, but it's the kind of the price you pay to be able to partake in all the grand splendor and beauty that the mountains offer.
Yeah, and you also run into people that don't necessarily know how to drive in weather.
Yes.
Because of all the visitors that are here for Christmas skiing and that kind of thing. So that can be a little frustrating for me personally because I drive a lot, we drive a lot, and bad drivers make me crazy, I'm not gonna lie.
But there's options. If you don't want to drive to the mountains, there's buses and group activities that you can go do. So there's some options to that. I think even in the city we have traffic. Obviously in the city we have traffic, but I think in our venues down here, downtown on a weekend is packed. Restaurants are waitlisted.
Even the farmers markets or the art and crafts festivals.
We draw a lot of people.
Yeah, it's like wall-to-wall people. So
good and bad. Sometimes that's a fun vibe. To go out in the hub and the
feel the energy
and
of the people and all that. Yeah.
But it is like we just it's busy here. It's changed. It's grown, and there's a lot of people that want to partake in these great adventures and aspects that we have in the state. So part of it, growing pains, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we wanted to cut in real quick and just give you a reminder of who we are and why we do this. I'm Michelle Wise.
And I'm Cheryl Crown.
And we are the Living in Denver team. So we basically make these videos just to kind of give you information what it's like. And today we're telling you what it's truly like to live in Denver, Colorado from local perspective.
Absolutely.
But we are real estate agents. So if you have any questions about anything real estate, give us a call. But today we're just letting you know what it's truly like to live in Denver from a local perspective.
All right, let's get back to it. Aspect number 2, Denver is home, as I mentioned earlier, to the 3rd busiest airport in the country. So that hasn't always been the case. So although we are centrally located in the country, and it does make it really nice to get anywhere you want. There are flights all day. Every major airline comes in and out of here often, but if you need to go somewhere, you need to get to the airport early.
Yep.
And you need to, again, be prepared. You have to be prepared for a ton of people, and if you have TSA pre-check, that's a good thing, or clear, or something like that. But if you're going to be going through the lines, I've seen it all the way back through baggage claim before.
Yeah, outside even. Yeah.
Outside, and it goes pretty quickly, but it's still overwhelming.
You have to plan ahead. You most definitely have to plan. My sister lives in Kansas City, and there's been times when we fly in there, it's pop in, pop out. It's really quick and easy. Super easy airport, but DIA is not like that. The benefit though is she can't get flights often to other places.
Direct. We can pretty much go direct to anywhere.
Yeah, and there's multiple flights in a day. So, you don't want to fly early, you can fly 7 other times during the day to the same location.
And if you want to fly United or Delta or American or Frontier or Southwest or, they're all here.
I think one of the things that's really important when you think about living in Colorado is the cost of living. You hear on the news everywhere, inflation, all of that, but Colorado is often, especially Denver, flagged as one of the places where the prices are soaring.
Well, they are in certain aspects. Housing, we are on the upper side, depending on where you're coming from, though. So if you're coming from,
it's all relative.
Yeah, California, it's not as expensive. If you're coming from Boston, it's not as expensive, or New York City, you know, those San Francisco, those bigger places. But if you're coming from Kansas City or Texas or
Oklahoma,
Wyoming or
somewhere like that.
Yeah, exactly. Somewhere more in the central Midwest. Exactly. We are pricier. Although our health insurance nationwide, we're like 83% of, if 100 is average for the nation, Colorado's 83%. So that's a big perk.
Yeah, and our property taxes are relatively very low here compared to a lot of other states.
That's true.
So, you know, that...
And insurance too. Insurance is relatively affordable. Compared to, where, I mean, we're not in a flood zone. Well, there are some, but they're FEMA 500-year-old.
And I think you know, we're not in those giant tornadoes like the F5 or whatever those are, tornadoes that go through and take out whole towns. We have tornadoes here, but they're small and they're usually on the Eastern Plains. And so, and we're not in those areas that have the big floods. You know, there's the rivers that flood off the Mississippi, or the hurricanes that come in and hit the Gulf Coast.
We get fires, and there is some residual, you know, impact on insurance rates from fires, but we haven't had any in a long time.
And that's depending on where you live. You know, you live in Metro Denver, you're not going to pay a premium for insurance on a fire hazard. If you're in the foothills, you might. It's relative.
And then even gas, like every time my dad comes to visit from the East Coast, from Virginia, he's like, so what are you paying for gas? And I'm like, I don't know, I drive an electric car.
I don't,
I know,
and I have a gas guzzler. But you know, our gas is not crazy. You know, when my brother-in-law lives in California, and when we go visit him, I can't believe what they pay for gas out there. It's
double.
Yeah, practically double, and you know, East Coast too. So, you know, our gas prices typically range very fair, and what I consider average. And I think also some of our utilities here are less expensive than in other places of the country. Water, maybe not so much, because we are in a desert.
Well, and plus we give a lot of our water to Arizona and New Mexico, and so that's a little frustrating. It's like, we want our water back.
And I think one thing to think about, you may not be aware of this, you know, depending on the season and how much rain we get, which usually isn't a lot, sometimes we have watering restrictions here in Colorado. You know, what does that mean? It means that, you know, you're allowed to only water 3 days a week for this period of time.
If your address ends in an odd number or an even number, that's basically how it's broken down. And
and it's the different days you can water, and you're only allotted, and there's fines if you break that. That's not every year. It just kind of depends, but something, you know, if you're not from Colorado, if you're coming from the South where it rains all the time, that could floor you, you know, you'd be surprised by that.
Yeah, absolutely. But like the cost of a loaf of bread, I think I paid like $2.99 the other day for a loaf of bread, not a big deal. $4 for a dozen of eggs. I mean, it's not.
Remember during COVID when eggs were like
$10 a dozen? Yes, I do. That was insane.
Yeah, those days luckily are over. But I mean, I think, when I go to the grocery store, you know, I think, you know, gallon of milk's $4, and compared to some other places in the country, I know I've spent more than that when I've gone and visited places. So I think overall our cost of general goods is fairly average. Some things are a little higher, some things are a little lower, but it's not the high skyrocketing prices that you maybe find in San Francisco or New York or some of those places.
Exactly. So how about the weather? Let's talk weather. Today's not the most beautiful day. It's freezing and windy and miserable, but it is sunny. And that is the beauty of Colorado. 300 days a year on average, we get at least some sun. And so that's another aspect of utilities. A lot of people have solar here because we have so much sun, and that really does help offset some of those costs for electricity. If you have an electric car, charging your electric car and that type of thing. But really, the weather here is pretty awesome.
It really is. I mean, today's cold and blustery. It looks beautiful out when you look at, if you don't look at the trees blowing. Okay, so here's a funny story. I had a client moving from Georgia, and she was asking me about, okay, what do I need to prepare to move to Denver clothing-wise? And she's like, I need to buy a big, puffy, warm coat, and how many coats do I need, and my kids? And I said, honestly, I don't really wear a coat too much in the winter. You know, if you're running back and forth between the car and the grocery store, the car and the office, those kinds of things, it gets warm. The store's heated, the office is heated, the car's heated.
A lot of vests going on.
We wear a lot of vests. I do wear a lot of vests, but you know, I'm not bundled up in that big parka with those
Like
stocking
Chicago
cap.
people. We're not like
Yes.
Chicago people.
And she did not believe me. She's like,
Yeah.
Michelle, you are tougher than I am. And I'm like, just wait,
No.
just wait. And I talked to her a year later and she's like, I'm like, so how's that coat? She's like, it doesn't hardly ever come out of the closet unless I'm going to like a sporting event or hiking or walking or those things.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. She didn't believe me, but
Well, and most people dress in layers because honestly, if you leave the house in the morning and it's 28 degrees or whatever, and then the sun comes out,
and it's 65 in the middle of the winter by the afternoon.
Yeah, and we're on a patio having lunch and a beer. I mean, it's just awesome.
Yeah.
It really is. That opportunity here and the sunsets that it brings.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, just breathtaking. Absolutely breathtaking.
And when we do get snow, you know, we get a big dumping of snow, you know, a foot, 8 inches, 10 inches, something like that.
Right.
And it snows that day, next day, or even oftentimes that afternoon, the sun is out, the skies have cleared, it's blue skies, and it starts melting. And our snows melt within a few days.
Yeah.
And
Last year it wasn't that way. It was very strange.
Yeah, last year was odd.
It was very weird. But yeah, typically if you don't live in a north-facing house, we're going to tell you that again. I know we've mentioned it in several videos. We do not recommend buying a north-facing house unless you don't mind shoveling.
Because your driveway doesn't melt. Because it
Right,
does snow,
right.
but then it warms and it melts, and then your
Then you have
driveway's
ice
water,
this thick,
and
yes.
then it turns to ice.
Yeah.
But we don't have those dirty piles of snow laying around on the sides of the road.
No.
You know, most of the time here, we don't have snow on the ground. Go to the mountains, foothills, yes, but not here in Denver, the Denver metro area. So that is something I think is really nice because you don't get that winter gloom feeling. You know, it looks beautiful out. You may be surprised when you walk out the door. It could be cold, but yeah.
And another thing about Denver, and this is true in a lot of cities, but especially here, is people love their dogs.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Our
huge dog.
The Living in Denver team dog is laying right at our feet right now. She doesn't leave our side when we're doing our videos.
We've never spotlighted her on a video.
I know,
we need to
have
show her. Her
We
name's
do.
Layla.
Yeah, she's a sweet
amazing.
girl. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that in a future video for sure. But
maybe we'll pop her into this video at the end.
Okay,
So stick around. We'll show you her.
Yeah. She's another one of my rescue favorites. So dog parks galore. There are, I mean, you have to have your dog leashed, and not in the dog park if it's, you know, contained. But if you're, you know, a responsible dog owner and, you know, walking your dog.
We have leash laws here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But there are poop bags on every corner. I mean, my neighborhood must have like, I think there's like 200 houses in here, and there's probably 14 stations for poop bags. I mean, it's just awesome. So they make it really easy to have a dog, and
so many restaurants have outdoor patios that are dog friendly.
Yeah.
There's it's actually a chain restaurant. It's called Lazy Dog, and they have so many dogs. You go there. One's in Southeast Aurora. There's a couple in the metro area, but they promote. That's what they base a lot of their business on is bring your dog. You come eat, bring your dog, and they have pet menus. You know, you can get your dog a burger or chicken or something. So
it's awesome.
yeah, I mean, there's dogs everywhere here in Colorado.
And when I walk her down the street in like downtown Parker or downtown Castle Rock, the places will have bowls of water for the dogs on the sidewalks.
Oh yeah, all over by my neighborhood too.
Yeah, it is. And you know, I've never really run into this, but I have had people say, you know, they've had experiences at dog parks or that kind of thing where people, their dogs aren't very friendly. So that might be, you know, a drawback, but
I've never had that problem
I
either,
know,
but
I know.
I have heard stories.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always one out there, right?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And if I see that dog when I pull up to the dog park, I just turn around and go to the one next door. You know what I mean? It's like they're so close. So,
Yeah, we definitely do love our dogs here in
Yes.
Colorado.
Yes,
so you
absolutely.
go to a park and it's almost as many dogs as it is people walking around and doing, chasing, you know, throwing the ball, throw the dogs, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, one thing we didn't mention is the altitude. We were talking about the weather, and it's really not the same, but the altitude does make it very dry here.
Yes.
So you want to have your lip stuff on hand at all times,
Yep.
and you want to have moisturizer. And you want to, if you're coming from a lower, you know, Denver's at 5,280 feet, but, you know, Parker's at like 6,200 feet, or, you know, the Pinery's at 7,000 or 6,800 feet, something like that, but it's high. And sometimes it's hard to catch your breath. So low humidity, so keep moisturized, and then you're gonna need probably 3 or 4 days. I mean, altitude sickness is a real thing. I've had many people come to visit and they're just on the couch for, you know, a couple days because they feel nauseous and out of breath. Like going up the stairs is laborious. And so,
Yeah.
just something
And
to consider. If you're coming.
especially if you come just to visit too and you
Right.
want to go up to the mountains,
Yes.
you should probably take a day. Even if you're healthy, athletic, all that, you should probably take a day at Denver if you're coming, especially from sea level,
Yeah.
you know, to kind of acclimate and then go up to the mountains, and then wait to even go to the summit because it's legit. It's a real thing. Elevation affects your body.
Yeah, it totally does. It totally does. It takes a while to adjust. The other good thing is we have all the major sports.
We do.
We have all of them. Even though I'm not a Denver Broncos fan, I will root for
Broncos,
them.
go Broncos.
If they're not playing Buffalo Bills, but I mean the Avalanche. We got the Nuggets.
They're world
national
champions.
Yeah, exactly. And then soccer team.
Yep, we have the Rapids and we have the Rockies for baseball. I think we even have like professional lacrosse and rugby and some of those other smaller sports.
Yes.
So we definitely, if you're a sports fan, this is a great town to be in. Tickets to most things are usually available. The Denver Broncos have been sold out for years, but you can still get tickets on the secondary market. It's fun adventure. Everywhere you walk in Denver, you see sporting attire, you know, baseball caps. Yeah, we love our sports teams.
We do. And we also love our music venues.
Yes.
I am a huge live music fan. I've been to a lot of the different venues here. Red Rocks, of course, being like one of the best in the country or the world even. Fiddler's Green. You've got some local places. The Botanic Gardens.
There's actually a lot of local places. It's really easy to find live
Yes.
music in Denver.
Yes.
I don't think it necessarily has that like national reputation to come to Denver for the music scene.
Yes.
But there are so many different little bars and
The
restaurants
Ogden,
and
the
little
Fillmore,
small theaters.
Mission Ballroom.
Yeah,
Ellie Calkins. I mean,
we
there's
definitely love our music here too, and we have a lot of great musicians.
And there's
Even street performers. You know,
Exactly.
they're so talented. It's unbelievable.
Exactly. And even like many downtowns will have a bar or two that like specializes in live music. So like in Parker, the Tailgate, every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they have live music inside and outside, weather permitting. Afternoons, evenings, nighttime.
You can pretty much go anywhere in Denver and find live music.
Yeah, like
so,
Littleton has that too.
Denver Metro, I mean, yeah.
Right. Englewood has a really cool place for that. So yes, if you're into the music scene, it's pretty fun here.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the restaurants have at least weekend music. So, you know, in a little corner if nothing else.
Right,
but,
right.
you know, I think kind of the big elephant in the room when you talk about Colorado is we're not judging. It's up to you and your preference, but the fact that marijuana is legal in Colorado, it's becoming obviously more legal in multiple states, but we were one of the first states to legalize it, and so that is part of Colorado's reputation, good or bad, it's up to you.
Mile High took on a whole new meaning.
It really did.
Pot became
It still
legal.
does, you know. So Mile High is obviously our elevation at 5,280 feet above ocean sea level. That was the original meaning of Mile High, but since, you know, marijuana has been legalized, it's changed, and
it did boost our tourist economy.
it boosted our real estate economy. It boosted our tourist economy.
Yes.
It has done a lot of things, and a lot of the money from pot sale on taxes does go to schools and parks and recreation. Yes,
projects and
Colorado,
so
Project Colorado stuff. So that's a personal preference. But
there are counties that don't allow.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah, where you can't find a pot store where you can go in and buy marijuana, but
Yeah, you do in some places walk down the street and you do have the smell of it, the odor of it.
Even when I'm driving, sometimes on I-25, when I get to 6th, I can smell it in my car. There's warehouses all along I-70,
So
throughout Denver.
You don't smell it everywhere, but you do smell it. But there are cities and municipalities that don't allow it. So, you know, it's not forced upon you, obviously. There are ways to get away from it if that's not something that, you know, you are into or want to be around. That is an option. But that, you know, kind of is the funny thing when people talk, oh, you're from Colorado, you know, we get a lot of jokes about that. Again, I think they're starting to diminish, but for a while, you'd meet any stranger somewhere else and like, oh, you're from Colorado, what do you got in your pockets? And so yeah.
That was an unfair judgment, by the way.
It was an unfair judgment. Just judging me because I live in Colorado.
I know, that's not cool.
But yeah, so, you know, Colorado's fabulous. We obviously love it. We live here.
Raised our kids here. I mean, I've got one in college, I've got one in high school, Michelle's got a couple in college, but
Yeah.
they all want to come back. I mean, they come back every break. And
they bring their friends from out of state.
Yeah.
My girls are out of state in college, but they bring their friends back, and
Yeah.
everybody loves it. There's just so much to do here.
Yeah.
It's beauty all around you, great weather,
Totally.
great food scene, great
Yes.
music scene. It has so much to offer. Obviously, we're biased. We live here. We adore it.
As promised, here's the Living in Denver, Colorado team mascot. Meet Layla.
Layla.
Who's a good girl?
Oh, such a good girl. Say hi to the camera, Layla.
So
Say hi. Say move to Colorado.
Yeah, come visit us in Colorado.
If you have any questions about anything else Colorado, or you want to pick our brains on something, or want more detailed information, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. Our information's down below. We are here for you for whatever your needs are, real estate or Colorado related. We just wanted to share what it's like to actually live in Colorado.
And if there's any topics we didn't cover in this video, drop a comment down below and let us know, because we're happy to answer any questions. I mean, yes, we're real estate agents, real estate experts, realtors, whatever you want to call us, but we are also a resource for people that are interested in learning more about visiting Denver.
And if you live in Colorado and Denver and you want to add something that we didn't cover, put it in the comment down below.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll see you next time.